This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you with us. We got lots to get to today. Connor and Remo will join me in just a couple minutes. We'll also get the latest from around the National Hockey League off-season with another coaching vacancy open as Knobloch was officially gassed from the Edmonton Oilers earlier today. Michael Traikos from the Hockey News is going to join us. Then we'll catch up with Kenny Weeb for his thoughts on the playoffs, the Jets off-season, and more. And we will talk a little Sea Bears. Coach Mike Raimbault joins us before the Sea Bears home opener on Saturday night at Canada Life Centre. Hey, great night of WST poker last night. Shout out to everyone that joined. Congratulations to, and I still don't know who this is, but they're definitely a WSTer considering their poker name is AP's Fire Alarm. AP's Fire Alarm not only won, but I do believe got the bounty on my head for knocking me out. Well done. I did last a little longer than Hammer and Remis last night, but it was a great group. Lots of WSTers, few ESTers that jumped in as well. And again, we'll have some more throughout the summer, but really good turnout last night. Thanks to everyone that joined us. And of course, our pals at CoolBet for making these poker nights possible. Listen, we're going to get the fellas in here and get right to it. The Wild are done. The Avalanche are moving on. 2 big games tonight in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Montreal-Buffalo Game 5. Vegas-Anaheim Game 6. We'll get to all of it in just a minute. Do want to thank our sponsors, though. Of course, our partners at CoolBet Canada, the great people at Princess Auto, Chuds Power Sports. Oh, we got a beauty Chuds Power Pole coming up today in the aftermath of the Knobloch firing. Of course, Clean Line, plumbing, heating, and electrical. The Tri-Hospital Lottery. Get your tickets now at trihospitaldream.com. Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend, St. Vital Dental Center, and Rollies Transfer. Roller Hills Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Gold Eyes, don't forget, a home opener next Tuesday, May 19th. Tickets going fast for that. Get them now. Assiniboia Downs just got their first 2 nights of live racing in. And, of course, we'll get to a why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Let's get the fellas in here. Michael Remis, Connor Rabchak, boys, good stuff. Remo, how are you? Good time last night on the poker. Another great turnout and a really fun game.
Yeah, I had fun in the poker. I don't think I finished as well as I thought. I managed to get like 13th, but I wasn't in the money. I was trying to be, and I can definitely come back and be better next time. Maybe I was distracted by that exciting Colorado comeback. I think I got eliminated right as Nathan McKinnon scored that tying goal, but it's no excuse. I should have played better, and I will be better in the next one.
Yeah, I was a roller coaster. I was down early, then I was up, and then I got hosed on one big hand by Duck Dad, who's a big lock shopper, aka Father Mallard, and then it was AP's Fire Alarm, who I believe came in and finished me off. Connor, what's going on with you? Great response to the latest post. We talked UFAs, RFAs, and in particular something like Cole Perfetti, and a lot of people will be firing their takes right back at you on socials.
Yeah, no kidding. The response has been great to that video. Thank you to everyone who watched it or checked out the reel that we posted on our Instagram. But the thing is, Hus, like the reel is like, would you sign Cole Perfetti to a 4-year, $5 million? And all the comments are like, trade him. And it's like, well, that's not the question. The question is, would you sign him to the contract? And people are like, trade this guy. So I don't know. I'm honestly shocked that that's kind of the overwhelming majority in terms of the response I've gotten is like, he's not worth 4 years, 5.8 million, trade him. But hey, those are the takes that we're getting.
I mean, we've been doing this long enough, and I've been active on social media long enough, and speak to enough people in real life long enough to realize that the reaction on social media is not necessarily a true representation of the fan base overall. I mean, negativity is something that gets way more run than positivity on social media. So I can't say that I'm surprised that some of the negative responses are more, the volume is higher on those. But
Agreed.
Remo, I'm sure you'd agree. I mean, the Perfetti situation is really interesting in that if we're talking about making some significant changes to this roster and how it's set up, and certainly the second line, like Perfetti is one of the assets without the contract, without the term, but under team control, that would presumably something that could net you a significant return back. The problem is, we've been talking all about this second line. We need a second line center and all that. You take Cole Perfetti off that line, and I mean, it's not even close to second line caliber in the NHL right now. So, I mean, the predicament is kind of interesting, but I'm not surprised that there's a varying number of takes.
Yeah, and Connor threw at the projections from AFP Analytics in that video, and this, the comments were wide-ranging. Showed it to Instagram commenter Vital did this, said, most of these comments are wild. These projections are more than fair for Perfetti. And my response was, welcome to the internet. But like, is this your first time here? But I think Cole Perfetti's an interesting case where he had a pretty good year last season, not this most recent one, 50 points in 82, and you thought he was going to build on that, and could he get to become a 60-point player or more? Well, he had injuries. He didn't have Nikolai Ehlers this year. I mean, his line mates nowhere near that quality, and he had a pretty good, I think, post-January, but ultimately had 32 points in 68 games. And when you're giving a guy that age an RFA contract, age 24, you're paying for them for what they're going to do. You're not paying them for what they did. And he'll probably be worth, whatever they pay. But, for him, is he going to want to sign long-term? Or does he think, hey, I'll sign another one-year deal and I can get a more next one? Or we'll have another disappointing season. So he probably wants to lock in some long-term money, I think, like take the security. There's a couple different ways to go. I'm kind of saying all of them here, but I think if you're trading him, you're trading low, and I don't think you're going to get the value back. But maybe you get a similar type player, one who maybe fits the Jets in terms of their needs, like speed. But would someone do that trade? I don't know.
I mean, Connor, I think it's really going to come down to how they feel about where Cole is at right now, but also his ability to have a big year next year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure if you pump some true serum into Perfetti, or certainly his agent, they would have loved to have maybe a bit of a different setup on that line. And anyone that watches this team knows that they need to improve at the center ice position, particularly on that line. How much of that is on the team and the GM as opposed to the player? So if you do bet on yourself, you can't just keep on kicking this thing down the road. You could do it one more year, but if it is a more underwhelming, are you in a worse spot? Is there the willingness of the Jets to acknowledge this and say, listen, we want you here as a big part of our core long-term, and sign him to a deal that I think is probably more likely like 5 or 6 years, to be honest, and it's probably in excess of 6 if they're doing it. And there's risk involved in that as opposed to it. So that topic of Perfetti is going to be one that I'm sure will be kicking around quite a bit more. And we'll get some insight from, Ken's going to join us later on. We'll see what he has to say over the next little bit. Connor, we do have to, and I said this all along, obviously very disappointing season for the Winnipeg Jets not being in the playoffs. And, we've watched the postseason. We've talked about the Central Division all year long. I will give Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild a lot of credit for an amazing season. They finally got over the hump of the first round of the playoffs. They won a game against the Colorado Avalanche. And listen, they've got a lot of reason to look back at this season and say this was a heck of a team. And man, they had some tough luck. I mean, you lose Eriksson Ek, your number one center, in a series against the best team in the league, you're probably screwed. But that doesn't mean I won't take advantage of the opportunity to dance on the grave of the Minnesota Wild the day after they are out of the playoffs. And the fact that they did it by blowing a 3-0 lead in a game that they had in full control, maybe a little something for Jets fans to feel happy for. But what did you make of the Wild going up and looking like they were going to get this thing back to the Twin Cities, and the series was on again to shaking hands at the end of overtime?
Well, Huss, they looked great in that first period. And I am once again just like dumbfounded at the fact that teams think they can sit back for 40 minutes of a hockey game and be okay, especially against the Colorado Avalanche. Like Minnesota, from the first period on, was just chipping everything out. They had no interest in scoring more or putting on more pressure on the Colorado Avalanche. And Colorado, if you give them the runway, you let them skate downhill, they're the best team in the league at that. And clearly it took them a while, but Colorado was pressing in that second period, pressing in the third period. Late in the third period, they obviously get the 2 goals and tie it. Nathan MacKinnon, what a shot. That is unbelievable. But Minnesota gave up a lot for one playoff round win, and then one win in the second round here. Like, Quinn Hughes is still a pending UFA. This is a big offseason conversation. A lot of people are talking about McDavid and Matthews, the guys that are 2 years out. Well, now Quinn Hughes is 1 year out. He's a pending UFA next summer. So what is that going to look like for the Minnesota Wild? Are they going to be able to extend him? Is he going to come to them in the summer and say, you know what, I want to go play with my brothers out east? So then they have to move him. That's going to be a big topic of conversation for the Minnesota Wild. And obviously they would have loved to have it after a Stanley Cup championship or multiple playoff series won. But Huss, I'm with you. I'm not, sitting here feeling sorry for the Minnesota Wild by any means. Maybe the Winnipeg Jets' biggest rival, but man, did Colorado look good in this series. Looked good in that game last night outside of the first 20 minutes. And they look like they're on a collision course with the Carolina Hurricanes in the East for the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, no, hard to disagree on that. I see in chat, Darth Skater, so much Minnesota hate. Why, Huss? Darth, are you new here? I mean, does the name Ryan Hartman ring a bell? The cheap shot on Ehlers, the high stick in the face of Cole Perfetti. I mean, the nonsense that's happened over the course of many years in the rivalry between these two teams. And listen, it's fun to have a rival. It's fun to get a little bit of hate involved. And listen, this year, unfortunately, the Jets weren't really up to the challenge in Minnesota. But I'll tell you what was it, 14 in a row that the Jets had won against Minnesota when they lost earlier this year?
It was something like that.
It was double digits.
A couple of years. Yeah.
And that was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time for all of us.
It was.
But listen, the fact that we've had to watch Minnesota do what they've done this year and get to the playoffs maybe made their exit a little bit sweeter. But I think we all know that the Jets are the team chasing right now. These teams all up in the and
let me just say, Huss, to give a little bit of, grace to the Minnesota Wild, if you will, that series should have been the Western Conference Final. If we didn't have a bogus playoff format where Colorado was going to sleepwalk through whoever the hell comes out of the Pacific, that series was the real Western Conference Finals, in my opinion. Colorado, Minnesota.
It certainly felt like that. And I have a feeling the conference championships might be a little anticlimactic. I'm not sure that either of these teams that we're going to see tonight are going to have much for Colorado, who will be more than rested. And the other side, same thing. I mean, Buffalo, Montreal, this is a really fun series, and everyone's into it right now. I'm not sure they might be able to have the opportunity to move up the Stanley Cup schedule a little bit, depending on what happens at the end of it all. Just on that note, if they did go 1-8, the top 3 teams were all in the Central, so they were still giving the 2 seed to the other division winner. So what it would have been was it still would have been Colorado, LA. The Vegas-Anaheim series would have been the first round of the playoffs. Dallas would have played Utah and Minnesota would have played Edmonton. And then if those teams had all advanced, it would have been Vegas, Dallas in the first round, and it still would have been Colorado, Minnesota.
I guess so. I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, you know, when you get to this second round, still a lot of good teams going at it, and you know, and again, that is because of the division winner traditionally getting.
I didn't take that into account. Yeah,
the two seed, but either way, Remo, what's your feeling on tonight? Big one for Buffalo and Montreal. This is, I mean, Game 5. I think it's pretty safe to say that whoever wins this game is likely going to win the series. But I think of this as a complete coin flip. Like, we've seen Montreal be really good on the road. I think their chances moving forward of winning on the road might be better than Buffalo's. I think Buffalo got a little fortunate in that last game. Do you think Montreal goes back home with the opportunity to win it on Saturday? Or are we getting Buffalo one win away from moving on to a conference final?
Yeah, I think Buffalo, you know, got kind of lucky yesterday or last game with the stanchion goal, you know, on the side of Dobish on a dump in. That really changed the game. You know, maybe they would have won anyway, but that was certainly the turning point. And we talked a lot about the lineup changes last game for Buffalo, putting in Helenius, who had a number of chances to score. I thought he looked good. And Luke Schenn, who only played about 7 minutes. It looks like us on the third pair, our friend Joe Yurden, who we had on last week, he's got Stanley and Schenn on the third pair for Buffalo tonight. And I know that, you know, we were sounding the alarms for Buffalo on Tuesday's show, and they were able to mitigate that by only playing Schenn 7 minutes. But we saw that pair here a lot this season, and I think more often than not, it resulted in more goals against than goals for.
Absolute chaos in the defensive zone. Let's be straight.
And we had said that on Tuesday, and you know what? Like, a single game sample, anything can happen, but I would take, you know, say those comments again and again. There was some guy who came into our comments who's acting all coy, saying, "Oh, I didn't see the game. How did the Buffalo do with Luke Schenn and the thing?" So, you know, we'll see how it goes. Ultimately, those guys aren't going to play a lot of minutes, but I do like Montreal ahead of
Connor, I thought Stan would be coming back in. I didn't think Schenn would be staying in. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what Jet fans are saying while they're watching this game right now, because, I mean, that first period when Schenn was out there, there was a lot of that chaos that we'd mentioned. Difficulty making the, you know, clean passes, things bouncing off stuff. I mean, it was just a lot of, part of the reason why I don't think he played very much in the second half of the game when it was really tight. Mm-hmm. But this will be, that's a bold move. Hey, Lindy's made a lot of great calls. He's up for Coach of the Year. They are where they are right now. So we'll just sit back and watch, but that will be quite interesting. And then, of course, we've got Vegas and Anaheim a little bit later on. Connor, where are you at on that one? Are we going to get 7 in this one, or does the experience of the Vegas Golden Knights go for the throat this evening and get the job done?
Let me go and check out, is Mark Stone still out? I do like Anaheim tonight, and I think I'd like them more if Mark Stone remains out. I know Vegas just won in overtime last game without Mark Stone, but they're at home. Their back is against the wall. I know they're a young team, and they maybe don't have that Stanley Cup experience yet, and that knowing how to win in a game like this where your season is on the line. But with their home crowd behind them and their season on the line, I do think that this is a pretty close series as we've seen so far. So I do think we get a game 7 between Vegas and Anaheim. Just on Buffalo, Luke Schenn played 7 minutes. Their second lowest time on ice defenseman was Rasmus Dahlin at 19:30. And then everyone else played over 20 minutes. Byram, Timmins, Power, Samuelson. So they essentially went down to 5D in that game against the Montreal Canadiens. And look, I mean, you're doing that anyways, really, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? Like, you're leaning on your top guys even more. We've seen Quinn Hughes put up some crooked numbers in terms of time on ice for the Minnesota Wild. So tonight, you can't really hide an entire pairing. Like you can't, not your third pair can't each play 7 minutes. Someone has to play a little bit more. So if it does end up being Stanley Shen, it'll be interesting to see how Lindy handles the matchups. Obviously they're at home, so it's easier to hide them there. You know, Montreal puts out their third or fourth line. That's when you can put out that pairing and hope that they don't get exposed against Suzuki's and Caulfields and all those guys. But it'll be interesting with the matchup game. How much are those guys going to play? That'll be something obviously Jets fans will be watching for a little bit tonight.
Hey, listen, we got Michael Traikos coming up in just a minute. But before that, PGA Championship is underway at Aronimik. We will do a full Breezy Bend golf report and a leaderboard look a little later on today. Can tell you that right now, after the morning rounds, the afternoon guys are just getting out there. We got 3 players, Poitgeiter, Stefan Jaeger, my guy, the chef, Minwoo Lee, and Rio Hisatune that are 3 under par. But get this, guys. This is a great story. Remo, you're known to maybe be a little tardy. You might need this one in your next time you're late for something, use this. So Garrick Higo is one of the guys in the PGA Championship today. He showed up late to the first tee. Not by a lot, but by just a bit. He got clocked a 2-stroke penalty for being late. He ended up shooting a 67. He would be tied for the lead right now at the PGA Championship if he didn't get that penalty. And I guess afterwards he did plead with the rules official. But he sat down with ESPN's Marty Smith to talk about his round afterwards, and he dropped this all-time quote afterwards that some of you late people might want to use. He's like, well, the rule is if you're 1 second late, you're late. I was obviously on time, but late. 1 second is tough to define. I will say this to Garrick. 1 second, technically not at all hard to define. It is clearly defined as 1/60th of a minute. But the I was on time, but late is a line that I think more people can pull out just to see how flummoxed they get the person that's challenged them on their punctuality.
I don't even know what that means, the words that you just said. I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
I was obviously on time, but late.
Yeah, I'm here, aren't I? So,
yeah.
It's kind of crazy how golf's got these funny rules where, yeah, like he shot the score that he had, but oh no, you were not on time or you didn't sign your scorecard properly. You're getting docked.
The ball moved on its own after you addressed it.
Yeah, like why don't we let people have the score that they have instead of this silly rules? I mean,
you just got to be on time, and you can't be on time but late. Garrett Higo. PGA Championship continues. Coming up a little bit later on. Connor, great stuff. Again, folks, get over to the YouTube channel if you haven't seen already, as well as all the social media channels as well. It's up on a reel. And Connor, we'll look forward to chopping it up with you a little bit more maybe tomorrow. We got Bomber training camp going on, 2 big games going on tonight, and then much more off-season Winnipeg Jets content on the YouTube channel as well as socials with Connor. Thanks for popping by today, dude.
Yeah, thanks. I'll enjoy. This might be the last doubleheader. If Vegas ends it tonight,
yep,
we're down to single game slates in the National Hockey League, which is not something I want to think about. So I'm going to enjoy potentially one of the final doubleheader nights of the season tonight. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we, as fans, we need game 7s from both of these series because I'm not expecting a lot of drama overall, probably in the conference finals, and then we'll see what happens in the cup final. We're going to talk hockey, coaching changes, and more. Stanley Cup Playoffs with Michael Traikos coming up in just a couple of minutes. Folks, don't forget right now, it's time to get over to tryhospitaldream.com and get your tickets for the Try Hospital Dream Lottery in support of the Health Sciences Center, the St. Boniface Hospital, and the HSC Children's Hospital. Next deadline is May 22nd, and that is the summer bonus. Buy early and get more great chances to win. summer bonus worth over $95,000. One winner will have the choice of a 26 Land Rover Discovery Sport Landmark or a 26 Mercedes-Benz GLC 4MATIC SUV valued at over $75,000. You can also select a $50,000 FairConnect.com travel voucher plus $20,000 cash or $62,500 cash. There'll also be 10 winners of a $2,000 shopping spree at Polo Park St. Vital Outlet Collection in Winnipeg or $1,500 cash. If you get your tickets now, you're also in for another 26 early bird prizes worth over $257,000. And of course, the grand prize, $1.35 million cash tax-free, or your choice of one of 6 $1.7 million dream home packages. Get your tickets today, gang, in support of a great cause. Our 3 biggest hospitals, tryhospitaldream.com. You can also pick up tickets at London Drugs or at your local Red River Co-op location. Got to thank our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for their support of WST. Busy time for Clean Line as spring rolls in right now. Clean Line's Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and most importantly, when you're in a jam, 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. Remember the number and mark it down, 204-500-2001. When you're in a jam, Clean Line has your back with 24/7 emergency services. Clean Line, the residential and commercial plumbing experts with plumbing, heating, and electrical services in Winnipeg. Check them out online at cleanline.ca. Long weekend coming up. Many of you are getting the boats out, RVs, ATVs, dirt bikes. You need batteries for all of that. And Manitoba Batteries, your local battery option, where you'll save big money, beating the pants off the big box stores and getting the best in customer service. 2 Winnipeg locations, Logan Avenue and Dovercourt Drive out on the south side of the city. But we know you're busy. They'll also deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. If you want to order online at manitobabattery.com or just simply give them a phone call. Bottom line is we're getting ready for spring and summer. You got to power it up. Don't waste time. Don't waste money. Shop local at Manitoba Battery today. And just before we bring in Michael Traikos, many of you are on the move this summer. If you are having a move, lean on our great sponsors at Rolly's Transfer. They've been the most trusted name in moving in Winnipeg for over 60 years. And of course, are around the province on a daily basis with all of their logistics business meetings, flexible times, routes for you, and bottom line, great prices. Go to Rollies.com, click on request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let her know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around real quick with a great code and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today online over at Rollies.com. Lots happening on the ice and lots happening off the ice in the National Hockey League. Let's welcome in Michael Traikos from the Hockey News. Michael, thanks so much for doing this. Great to have you back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Hustler. Really good to join you.
You know, so we'll get to the situation in Toronto in a minute. What have you made of the last 48 hours in oil country with the end of the Chris Knobloch era, a month before his new contract even kicks in?
Yeah. Does this sound like the ugliest of ugly scenarios for the Oilers? Like everything about this, with you just mentioned contract extension kicking in for a coach that's now hitting pay dirt, and the way that everything was leaked as well, with the Oilers reportedly asking Bruce Cassidy for permission and that getting back, and there was a right way to do this and there was the way that the Oilers chose to do this, and obviously that this couldn't have been a worse kind of scenario for a coach who, let's not forget, was the coach that took them basically to the promised land, back-to-back Stanley Cup final, gets them into the playoffs again this year, which was basically miraculous when you look at what the Oilers were as a team this year. And he's unemployed. I don't think he'll be unemployed for long. It'll probably be up to him whether he wants to take a a mental break or not, but they could have done this in a much cleaner and gentler way.
First off, is there any doubt at all that this is the Vegas Golden Knights doing everything they can to screw with the Edmonton Oilers a little bit more? Getting the request to talk to Bruce Cassidy, saying, hey, we're busy, we're in the playoffs right now, we can't deal with this right now. And then obviously leaking that news to come out. I mean, this is just another, like, the Oilers aren't even in the playoffs right now, and they're still getting it stuck to by the Vegas Golden Knights.
I love it. I love it, Hustler. I love the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights they lean into that whole, we're the misfits of the NHL. And, this is the same organization that is, booted their head coach to the curb, unceremoniously, and gotten rid of players who, you thought they were core pieces. But, hey, it's a Pacific Division rival. What did we expect? If the Toronto Maple Leafs asked the Montreal Canadiens, hey, can we have permission to talk to whoever, whether it's, say, Marty St. Louis was, no longer their coach, the Montreal Canadiens are going to tell the Toronto Maple Leafs the same thing. Are you kidding me? This is how it should be. This wasn't a team in the East asking for permission from a team in the West. This is the team that, last time I checked, the Edmonton Oilers were the team that knocked out Vegas last year in the playoffs, and they're probably their number one rival, even though they didn't meet in the playoffs this year. So not entirely unexpected. At the same time, I hope that, they don't keep Cassidy away from Edmonton out of spite. Bruce Cassidy, Butch, is a great guy. He's a great coach, and I think he's actually the kind of coach that the Oilers need going forward.
Well, I mean, if the Cassidy went there, there's so much urgency in my mind next year for Edmonton. You got 2 years of McDavid on this incredibly discounted deal. They've already wasted that by, the Frederick contract and the obscene Tristan Jarry trade, who's on the books now at over $5 million for the next 2 years, coincidentally, the McDavid years. And he's probably not really going to be part of the picture moving forward unless it's maybe a backup. They have put themselves in a situation. It was interesting hearing the presser today when they say, well, this coach, we're looking at this coach to get more out of the players that we have. Well, no kidding, because you've put yourselves into such a corner with all the no moves you've given out to like everybody on the roster and the bad contracts that no other team would want. They better get a coach that can get more out of the roster right now, because I'm not sure that there's a lot of wiggle room and a lot of massive change that Bowman's going to be able to pull off, considering the predicament that they look at when you pull up Puckpedia.
Yeah, no, you're right. And like I said, like the Oilers reached in the final, back-to-back years. Let's not forget, like the reason they get there is because they had two of the best players on the face of the planet. So, you can go a long way when you've got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl driving the bus. And, as good as they were this year, there's still so many holes in that roster. And let's start with the goaltender. And, I think it's easy to get rid of Chris Knoblauch. What it's hard to do is find a competent number one goalie, and something that Edmonton has been looking for I don't know how many years now. Like, Jack Campbell wasn't the answer. I don't think Stuart Skinner was the answer. Obviously, Tristan Jarry is not the answer. And, there's a number of players or goalies that I haven't even mentioned during that span that have also been tried and failed there. So, that's going to be number one on the list for free agency or for trades. And, whether they go after someone like Toronto's Anthony Stolarz, who I actually think could be a pretty good fit there, in a tandem situation. I think he's a good goalie, but, there's no one on the market, save for maybe Sergei Bobrovsky, that's going to give you a lot of faith that this guy can, be in net for 50 plus games and carry you to the Stanley Cup final again. There's just the market is as thin as it could be. And whether it's goaltenders, whether it's center, whether it's even just depth players, there's not a whole lot to like out there. So you're going to have to get creative if the Edmonton Oilers, and you're going to have to get kind of lucky and hopefully find a team that, desperately wants to make a trade, and, you can work something out.
Now, speaking of coaching vacancies, there's one in Toronto now. Craig Berube officially fired this week. I can't say it's a surprise. I mean, when you turn over all of management with a different philosophy, going with a clean start, it probably means you're going to look at your own guy. Now that Berube is gone, where do you see the Leafs going with their next head coach? And what will be the key qualities of a coach of a team that is very much in transition right now, it seems?
I think the key quality, and I'm kind of joking, but not really, is can you find an affordable coach out there? Because they're still on the hook for Craig Berube at, I think, $4.5 million for the next 2 years. And, it used to be money was no object for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, they were willing to overpay for Mike Babcock to get him out of Buffalo, where he'd already, verbally agreed to a contract. Money was no object in getting Brandon Shanahan, Lou Lamoriello. You look at their management and scouts in the press box, and I always joke that they literally have like a bleacher kind of scenario up there in the press box because they have so many AGMs. But, this is a team that in the last couple of years has, gone from money is no object to looking in the couch cushions for every single penny or dime or quarter that they can find. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go with not a sort of recycled coach like a Bruce Cassidy or someone of that ilk. And if they look to either the Toronto Marlies, where they've got a guy in John Gruden who the organization does feel strongly about. Another option, I think Vancouver Canucks are probably going to jump on him before the Toronto Maple Leafs can, would be, a Manny Malhotra. But, I honestly do think that the scenario that could be playing out is Toronto goes with a guy that, might not have a lot of head coaching experience, might not cost you $5 million like a Craig Berube did. We'll see if Chris Knobloch is interested in the position, or if there's any kind of a scenario where that can work out. But I think whoever gets hired is going to really tell you a lot about the direction this team wants to go in. Because if they go with the unproven development type coach, then it tells me that, Austin Matthews is going to be gone sooner than later. And if they go, if they do feel strongly about maybe a coach like maybe a David Carl, and they say, listen, this is the number one guy, we think he's out there, and he's not going to leave the University of Denver unless it's ridiculous money. All right, this is the time to spend that money because we want to make a push for the playoffs next year and keep Austin Matthews happy. Then, that tells me that Austin Matthews might be sticking around.
There's some juicy irony about the Chayka hiring in that, and especially with looking at a head coach that might be a lesser known one. I look at a former Leaf employee now employed in Pittsburgh that had a team that had some high-end stars that was thought to be rebuilding. They went with Dan Muse, who we didn't really know who he was. And then what did they do? They shocked everyone. They went and made the playoffs, albeit bounded out early. And, with the move to a data-focused management group and all this, it sure sounds a lot like the guy they used to have that's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And it's funny how it's gone that way, Hustler, because, before Kyle Dubas, they had the old school GMs in Lou Lamoriello. And then they went the complete opposite direction and got Kyle Dubas. And then what did they do after Kyle Dubas? All right, they went back to kind of the old kind of school guy in Brad Treliving. And then Treliving's gone. And they're like, all right, well, let's go the other way again. And they go with John Chayka, who hadn't even been in the NHL for the last 5 years. And, his biggest claim to fame is that he sees the game differently, or he doesn't even trust his eyes. He's more of the analytics guy. So it's like that pendulum just keeps swinging so violently from the left to the right. And I agree. It is kind of strange. That's why I think of Chayka coming in, he's going to try to do something different. I don't think he's going to go with the recycled guys. I don't think he's going to be making a push for Bruce Cassidy. Like I said, I think, if I had to put money on it, I think he's going to go with what you just said, more of that Pittsburgh approach, where you bring in sort of a unproven, maybe unknown kind of commodity and give him the reins because, the spreadsheets say this guy could be the best guy.
Michael Traikos of the Hockey News with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. While we're at it on the, Leafs obviously have the coaching vacancy. There's also a lot of intrigue about the future of Austin Matthews. Does the winning the draft lottery change his situation much, if at all? And in your opinion, I'll hit you with this. We've had this conversation with a couple people around your area. I'm interested in your perspective on it. Percentage that Matthews is a Leaf on opening day and percentage that Matthews is a Leaf on the day after the trade deadline next season.
I think he starts the season with the Leafs. I think the summer's going to be important. So I'll say 85% he's in the Leafs lineup on opening day. And you know what? I don't want to say it's 50-50 that he'll be there on the deadline, but I'll say, it's maybe 65 to 70% that he's there after the deadline. And again, a lot of this is going to probably get answered in the summer. If the Leafs are able to, if Darren Radish goes to UFA, and becomes a UFA, he goes to the market, I think the Leafs are going to be one of, several teams that are going to be throwing a lot of money at him or should be throwing a lot of money at him. Can they get Darren Radish? Can they get some more depth up front? Is Chris Tanev going to be healthy? There's a lot of ifs. Can they trade Anthony Stolarz and get a little bit stronger on the back end? Again, a lot of ifs for a team that just didn't look anything like a playoff team, never mind a contender last season. And, we'll see. If all the pieces fall into place and the Toronto Maple Leafs are able to prove that this past season was just a blip and they're back at, at least 1, 2, or 3 in the Atlantic standings, and I could see a scenario where Austin Matthews doesn't just stay the season, that he actually wants to re-sign, especially if he's got Gavin McKenna feeding him for, 70 goals like, Mitch Marner was a few years ago. But again, they're playing a lot of hypotheticals there.
And it puts a lot on the shoulders of McKenna, assuming that he is the pick. I mean, if he just shows up and he's on Austin's wing and things go great right out of the hopper, Austin's like, okay, yeah, maybe this can work and get the rest of this team going. Like, I don't mind scoring 65 goals a year. Fantastic. But, man, that's a lot to expect of an 18-year-old right out of the gate, because this is a decision that needs to be made far earlier than 2 years from now. And listen, there's a bunch of teams like that, but the two biggest stars probably in Canada, McDavid and Matthews, both with 2 years left on their deals. You need to have some clarity, because for both of those teams, if those guys are going to walk, you have to be proactive and make something happen with a significant return coming back, as to just playing it out for 2 years and letting them walk for nothing and being left holding the bag.
Yeah, well, there's a blueprint, right? And we saw it in Vancouver. Vancouver didn't wait until the last minute to trade Quinn Hughes. They jumped on it, like you just mentioned, and they got a great return where, they didn't just get picks, but they got Z Bouillon, who looks like, he could theoretically be the next Quinn Hughes. They got Marco Rossi, and I think they made out like gangbusters with that deal. Toronto's probably looking at the same kind of thing. Like, do you want to let Matthews go right until the end and potentially walk like Mitch Marner did? Well, of course not. If he is not going to be here, if he's not going to re-sign, then you've got to make that hard decision, yank the Band-Aid off right away and say, okay, what can we get for him? And can we do something where, we get a bunch of picks, a lot of prospects, and you add to the Gavin McKennas and the Easton Cowans, and you say to yourself, all right, Matthews is gone. Maybe, he's one of many to be gone. Maybe William Nylander is also going out the door, and Morgan Riley. So, Matthews will be the first domino to fall, but, depending on which way it goes, he could be dragging a couple guys with him.
Well, you brought up Quinn Hughes, and of course, we here in Winnipeg, many of us, a big rival of the Jets. We did our little dance on the grave of the Wild earlier this year while still giving them the respect they deserve for finally winning a playoff round. And listen, Bill Guerin was incredibly aggressive to do what he had to do to try to put them into contender status, which I think they did, despite only winning one game in the second round. Do you think that was enough to keep Quinn Hughes around? And just thoughts on his situation going to July 1st, knowing that that's when he can either extend, and if not, does Bill Guerin need to turn right back around and trade Quinn Hughes somewhere else that he is willing to sign long-term?
Okay, when the trade was made, Hustler, I said to myself, okay, the Wild have to go far to convince Quinn Hughes that this is the team for real. But then Bill Guerin wasn't just the GM of the Minnesota Wild. He was also the GM of the Team USA at the Olympics. And that team got a gold medal. So Quinn Hughes owes a lot to, I think, Bill Guerin and, the job that he did in constructing that roster and also bring them to Minnesota, which, was a great place for Quinn Hughes to play. I think he really enjoyed playing with Brock Faber. I think he sees up front a lot of great pieces, whether it's Matthew Boldy, whether it's Kirill Kaprizov. Unfortunately, Joel Eriksson-Ek was injured these playoffs, which I think had a huge effect on where Minnesota, ended up getting stopped by a really good Colorado team. But I think the convincing is almost done with Quinn Hughes. If he's not convinced that the Wild are not for real, then he's never going to be convinced. And if he's not convinced that Bill Guerin is the GM that he wants to play for, then again, he'll never be convinced. But I think the Olympics went a long way, as well as what the Wild were able to accomplish this year, where I'd be shocked if Quinn Hughes says, you know what, I really, really want to play with my brothers, even to the point where what I did this year for Bill Guerin with Team USA and with the Minnesota Wild is going to pull me out of there. I could see Quinn Hughes staying in Minnesota for a long time, and I'd be actually worried if I were the New Jersey Devils and Jack Hughes saying to them, actually, I want to go to Minnesota and play with my brother.
Yeah, it is, especially considering what's happened in Jersey for the last couple of years. I mean, with the high expectations and the lack of, real success, I'm sort of with you. I mean, if they can get his name on a big-time deal that goes 6, 7, 8 years, and he's locked in, Kaprizov's locked in, that looks like a pretty good spot for a center in the prime of his career to come with a legitimate chance of winning a Stanley Cup and obviously getting the opportunity to play with his brother at a point. We're particularly here in Winnipeg, although maybe it's considering the difficulties the Jets have when it comes to free agency, maybe it should be happening more elsewhere. But we're looking at, the holes that this team has, what they're trying to do, who's available out there. Everyone's signed. I mean, all the big-time players have basically signed outside of Alex Tuck. You go down this list, and it is somewhat scarce. Do you think, Michael, that will result in an uptick in actual real hockey trade activity over the course of this offseason? We always hear from the insiders, there's all this stuff's going to happen. It usually doesn't. Is the table set maybe for a more interesting summer when it comes to trades because of the lack of real game changers in the UFA market?
Maybe. I think what's going to hurt that, though, Hustler, is the fact that the salary cap is also going up. So normally you'd be like, we need to get rid of some high-paid players because we're pushed up against the cap. I don't think that's going to be the case this summer. I'm with you. I'd love it if we saw a ton of movement on the trade front. I just don't know if we're going to get it because we just don't ever get it. There's been cases sometimes where you go into the draft and you see some big names getting moved, but it's also a reflection of, okay, this team needs to get under the salary cap. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. So, we'll see. But the lack of names, it's just so disappointing. Like, aside from Alex Tuck, Darren Radish, like, who is the next best guy? Is it Jack Roslovic or someone like that? It really is disappointing.
Yeah, it's like Bob, it's Rasmus Anderson, it's John Carlson. I mean, Anderson's the only guy that's not on the run side of 30 years old. I mean, Ovi's a free agent. Somehow, I don't think he's going to be going anywhere else. I mean, then you're like Boone Jenner, Malkin. And then Charlie Coyle was thought to be a top 10 guy at 34 years old. And we saw the price that Columbus was willing to pay to avoid him getting to July 1. So I feel for the James Duthys of the world that have to sit around on TV for 8 hours on Canada Day to go through all of the moves that either do or don't happen because there is not a lot of star power. Hey, before we go, quick thoughts on tonight. Crucial Game 5 between the Habs and Buffalo. I look at all this. I mean, there's reasons on both sides where I could see these wins. It really feels like a bit of a coin flip right now. What are your thoughts on Game 5 tonight and who will be playing the Carolina Hurricanes?
Ooh, it's a good question. You know what? I'm going to stick with the Montreal Canadiens. I've had a chance. I got to cover them in the first round, and I covered a bit of the second round as well. So, I like that team. I think the big question is, will their top line ever finally show up? an even strength situation. And I think that's really the only missing component of all this. I just think they're too fast, too much skill there for the Buffalo Sabres. That being said, I predict a Game 7 again for the Montreal Canadiens, but I think it's going to be a Montreal-Carolina conference final.
Looking forward to it. Michael, thanks so much for doing this. Fill people in on what you and the team have cooking over at the Hockey News.
Yeah, so like I said, we're all over the place with the playoffs right now. So head over to thehockeynews.com or thn.com for all the coverage as well. I've been recording the big show, which goes pretty much every day, and just having a lot of fun here. So hopefully, I'll make it out to Winnipeg one of these days when we get that Toronto Winnipeg Stanley Cup final that we've all been pining for.
Yeah, that we may have missed that opportunity, at least in this window, for both of these teams, but we will look forward to rolling out the red carpet whenever that does happen. Thanks so much for the time, Michael, as always.
All right. Thanks so much.
Good stuff. There's Michael Traikos from the Hockey News. All right, Ken's going to join us in a few minutes. We got to get to this power poll. But before that, Bombers back on the practice field today, getting ready to get into the preseason and open up their year at Princess Auto Stadium. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers and WST, and the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue, West Brandon, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Folks, if you are looking for a great long-term home for you and your family at one of the most reputed dental clinics in the city, head on over to our friends at St. Patel Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff would love to take care of all your dental needs, as they've been doing for generations of Winnipeggers, serving clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. St. Patel Dental Center can do it all. They got a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's, convenient free parking right behind the building, and a lot of smiling faces waiting to take care of your smile when you pop in and see Dr. Terry. Hit him up online at stpateldental.ca. Make an appointment and make sure to tell them that the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. We do have a great doubleheader tonight. Early game, Montreal-Buffalo Game 5. Late game, and Connor mentioned this. This could be our last doubleheader. The late game, Vegas and Anaheim. No better place to set up shop for the evening than your local Boston Pizza sports bar. Enjoy ice-cold schooners, wing flights, pizza flights, the MVP platter, all the great new stuff on the Boston Pizza playoff menu. And, of course, if you are staying at home, you can always get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right. Listen, we got to get to a Chuds Power Poll for our friends at Chuds Power Sports up in Gimli. They're closed on May long weekend. Everyone's got to go get their operations set up. So it'll be closed Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But right now is the time to get down to Chuds and get ready for spring and summer. Chuds has an absolutely incredible selection of motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, RVs. You name it. If it's fun in the summer, Chuds has it. Great deals, incredible financing, and the best and most experienced staff in the province to get you the best deal in the right vehicle. Tons of used vehicles as well. And if you go to Chuds Power Sports, be sure to click on that top right corner e-commerce store. That'll take you to True North Parts with great clearance deals on equipment, apparel, and much, much more. Pop up and see them, corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. Our friends at Chuds Power Sports. Now, Reem, I figured that with this disaster around the Edmonton Oilers and the embarrassing way that the whole Knobloch era came to an end, we should fire up the Chuds Power Sports Power Poll for the messiest coaching finishes in recent NHL history. Are we going to do this? Are we going to blind rank these?
Yeah, let's just blind rank these. So the first one, we have Mike Babcock, fired by the Columbus Blue Jackets after a scandal where he asked players to show them the phone camera roll and then projected it on a screen for other people to look at. So a lot of controversy there, and he stepped away before even coaching a regular season game with the Blue Jackets.
A single game. Wow, that is bad. He had, some former players had said that he had scumbag tendencies. That one all but confirmed it and was an incredibly messy and frankly embarrassing way to go down. That one's high up there. I'm going to roll with, let's go with Babcock in the number 2 hole for disastrous end to coaching stints, albeit the shortest one of all of them. Ooh, Gerard Gallant, the infamous the cab ride, the cab slip from the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, it was December 2016, and what everyone remembers is the image of the team going away on the bus, and he's left on his own to hail a cab, literally kicked to the curb. Huss, there was some philosophical differences between him and, what are they called? The analytics boys who were running the Florida Panthers at the time. So where would you like Gerard Gallant on this list?
Jeez, it's just such a famous firing, and that image, I think I might have to put that at 1. Like when I think of disastrous and messy ends to coaching terms, Gerard Gallant getting left on the side of the road with a cab slip has to. Yeah, I'm going with number 1 for Gerard Gallant.
Number 1. Next one has Ralph Kruger. He was fired in June 2013. You know, we thought it was a Zoom call. This was well before Zoom. It was a Skype call while he was on vacation in Switzerland. The team had finished 10 points out of a playoff spot after 1 season. Craig McTavish calls him. He thinks it's a routine call, video call. 5 minutes later, he's out of a job. So there's Ralph Kruger from 2013.
You know, this is also a bit of an iconic gaffe by the Oilers. It was thought to be very low class the way they treated Ralph Kruger, who had done okay. This is all during the decade of darkness. They were so horny to get Dallas Eakins, if I recall correctly, that they jumped on that and fired him by Skype. So I'm going to go number 3 with Ralph Kruger on that one. So we've got 2 more down at the bottom. We'll see where these ones come in. Well, Chris Knobloch, which is just finished, of course, still the head coach. Still a head coach earlier this week. Reports come out that they're looking to get Bruce Cassidy. Yesterday, they said, he was going to be fired by the end of the day. He wasn't fired by the end of the day, and then mercifully given the pink slip today. Even more embarrassing for the Oilers on this one is that he has already signed an extension which does not even kick in until July 1st. This one's got to be 4. And maybe we could have had a little bit higher, to be perfectly honest with you. Back-to-back Oilers at 3 and 4 on the end of coaching term disasters. And the final one, John Tortorella with the Vancouver Canucks. Wasn't this when he fought tried to get into the Calgary room and drop down with Bob Hartley?
It was a very messy end to his tenure. Fired after 1 season of a 5-year, $10 million contract. This was May 2014. The team won only 11 of the final 41 games. Yes, he got a 15-day suspension for trying to fight Calgary and go down the tunnel, and infamously started Eddie Lack over Roberto Luongo in the Heritage Classic, which led to a lot of fan backlash as well. So it did not go well for Tortorella in Vancouver.
No, so we'll put that in at 5. As Phyllis mentioned, honorable mention, or maybe a combo spot, was the Canucks with Bruce Boudreau, in that he was left a twist in the wind. And I remember Bruce being on with Dusty in Edmonton and talked about it. He said, well, he knew that he was being fired. He went to that last game knowing that he was a dead man walking. They had their entire house packed up, ready to go, and he was still the coach. And, of course, that final game, all the Vancouver Canuck fans chanting Bruce's name before he finished up. And then, oh, look, there's Ken. before he finished up and then went and moved on after being fired. So there you have it. Some of the more messy ends to coaching tenures for our Chuds Power Sports Power Poll today. Head on over to Chuds and get ready for spring and summer. Gimli, Highway 8 and 231, or online at chudspowersports.com. All right, let's bring in Ken Weeb of the Winnipeg Free Press. Ken will join us in just a moment. Do want to mention that this segment is brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers in the Toyota Tacoma with the standard I-Force engine boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds, the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag Days from March through May. Kenny, what's going on? How are you?
Hustler, greetings from Toronto. Life is good.
Toronto.
Kept the Golden Horseshoe alive last night for a little Dalton Varsho walk-off grand slam.
Were you the slump buster for the Jays?
Well, I don't want to take all the credit, but certainly it was nice to see a rare victory for the men in baby or powder blue yesterday for sure. A fun game. Dylan Cease, first time to see him live. Huss, he was dealing. Kazuma Okamoto, an impressive game. Nice backhanded stab on Chandler Simpson. Impressive sack fly to tie it, and then it was my first time back in the good old dome since Game 7. Had a few feelings, Huss, but nice to leave with some joy rather than a little bit of a tough ending the last time in that building. So it was a lot of fun.
What any concession purchases made yesterday at the game?
No, the footlongs were moving fast, Huss, for sure, but. No, we grabbed a quick bite before we headed into the park. So the concessions were booming though, it looked like. So
now you're in Toronto today. Will you be in Buffalo this evening?
No, Andrew, I will not be in Buffalo. We'll be watching, but didn't as you know, when your team hasn't been in 15 years, the costs of a potential ticket here would be a little exorbitant, and I do have my life partner with me here, so a spot in the press box was not in the card.
I thought Rennie was working the Colorado series.
Not my work wife, my actual wife.
What do you make of this? I mean, we were just kind of having some fun with our power poll in the end of the Knobloch here. I mean, it's amazing to me that after everything that's happened over the last couple of years and the corner that the Oilers management has put themselves into with the trades and the signings that they've made, that the guy that got them to back-to-back cup finals is the one that walks the plank. And, they said in the presser this morning that the coach that they want to come in is going to be a guy that they hope to get more out of this current team and roster. And it better be, because I don't know how much they can really do to change the roster because of some of the commitments and the no trades they've already given out to the guys that fell short this year.
Yeah, Huss, I mean, this is very simple. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was chosen in the same draft as Mark Scheifele was, Huss, 2011, first overall pick. He is about to have his 10th coach in 16 seasons, Andrew. 10 coaches. The last time I checked, the guy that got them to Game 7 after being down 3-0 would have been the most successful of those 10 coaches or 9 previous coaches. So, I mean, I understand, it's a what have you done for me lately league, Huss, but come on. I mean, yes, there was some regression with the Oilers. I don't see that being a Chris Knobloch or Mark Stewart problem. Yes, we understand the penalty kill had its issues over the last couple of years. It also is one of the reasons why they got back to the final last year, Huss, if I remember correctly. Tough in the regular season, but I thought the penalty kill got it going during the playoffs last year when they fell short in Game 6 to the Panthers. But anyways, this is another classic example. When you can't change the bulk of the players, the cop-out move is to fire the head coach. Now, again, if they bring in Bruce Cassidy and if some of that other stuff gets sorted out, Huss, hey, fine. If your point is you want to bring in a Stanley Cup winner, sure, I guess you could make that argument. But to me, Chris Nalbuck was kind of already the hand-picked guy. So to toss him out to, pasture after one season where they get bounced in the first round by a younger, faster team, that to me, again, Oilers have had great runs of success, and they're under massive scrutiny and pressure with the McDavid scenario. It's a 2-year deal, but Huss, I mean, it's really a 1-year deal when we're looking at the extension portion, right? Because it's hard to imagine a scenario where they're going to roll the dice without an extension after the first year. So again, changes need to be made for sure. And if they think coaching is it, well, then you change the coach. But to me, you're kind of running out of human shields if the guy that is constantly being moved is the coach. I mean, yes, they've had a change in management, but I mean, I've been reading my pal Mark Spector the last couple of days and weeks here. He's made it pretty clear that the Stan Bowman portion of this era is not exactly off to a riveting start when it comes to moves that have been made on July 1st and during the deadline. So I would say that the players need to find another level, and if they can't, then there's going to be massive. The next group of people changing Huss will be the players, whether they like it or not. And one of them may be choosing to go elsewhere. So,
yeah, and one of them may be 97 next
exactly,
year.
That's what I mean.
That would be essentially Armageddon for the people in Edmonton. Ken, when we look at the Jets and their needs this offseason, their wants and desires, we were just going through this UFA list, which is not that star-studded. And maybe that plays into Winnipeg's hand in that, we're not talking about guys that have 20 different teams getting them. But what is the most likely road, in your opinion, for Kevin Cheveldayoff to make the necessary moves that he hopes will take this team in the right direction after a huge step back last year? Will there be more trading, do you think, for this roster, or are we looking at internal improvements and maybe the fringes of the free agent market?
Well, there's got to be significant change, Huss. I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks and maybe probably even months. So yeah, exactly what the formula is going to be is tough to tell because, I mean, outside of what we just found out this week with Charlie Coyle, we know that the few and far between folks in free agency are getting maximum money. So, I mean, the Jets
term.
Well, and term, yes. And again, and I wrote about this week, Huss. I mentioned some candidates. I know they weren't, necessarily slam dunks or grand slams, but in that article. But I mean, for those people, and there's plenty of them saying that this is a ridiculous deal for Charlie Coyle. Do you know what's riskier, Huss? If you're a team that's trying to change your culture and win, it's riskier if you don't replace that player who was, for a good chunk of the year, your second or third best player behind Zach Werenski. And yes, you could make the argument for Adam Fantilli, but Charlie Coyle just had the second best year of his career. Yes, of course, his age is a concern at 34, but we're seeing it. And again, I'm not comparing Charlie Coyle to Mark Scheifele. My point being that Mark Scheifele just had his best year at 33. Coyle just had his second best year at 34. So, yes, there's some age concerns for the latter part of that contract for sure, but Charlie Coyle is a guy who's a smart defensive player, can move down the lineup and still give you contributions, even if he's not a 60-point player in years, probably 3, 4, 5, and 6. But it sort of reiterates the point that it's a hard situation to wave the magic wand and fix in free agency. So then that would lead you to believe that trade is the more likely option. But Huss, I mean, we've been talking about this too. Although the Jets did recoup some draft capital at the deadline, they're probably, 2027 first, maybe. The second is in play for sure. If that 2026 or 27 first, I don't know that it's in play. But again, that depends what you're getting offered in that kind of a scenario. So we'll see what happens here. But again, you have to, I laid this out pretty simply. You're either getting someone who had a tough year, Huss, and you're looking for a bounce back, or you're looking for someone that's lower in the depth chart who needs an or can be granted an opportunity and maybe jump up the board. Maybe he's a fourth liner somewhere else, and that eventually can slide in, or a third line or somewhere else that can slide into a second line role. But we've been talking about this. I mean, to me, the top 10, the 8th overall is not in play. Huss, the only way that I would think it's in play is if it's moving up from 8 into the top 5. But even that is, again, there's just so few picks in the top 10 that are moved. There's just so few picks that are moved.
I brought that up yesterday when we were talking with Murat. And listen, I don't have much of an appetite to trade the 8th overall pick. I mean, those hopefully don't come around very often. You got to make the most of it and make it count. But you bring up an interesting scenario in that San Jose, there's these two high-end elite offensive players that are thought to be 1-2. They've got the 2 pick. They've got a ton of that and need blue line desperately, with a great crop of defensemen in this list. I could see that being a team that would potentially move down. The Chicago Blackhawks, Kyle Davidson's basically said they'll consider a lot of different things, potentially even the number 4 pick, because they're looking to move forward. The Jets, I'm sure, would love to get their hands on Carroll. He's probably not going to be there at 8. Thoughts on the potential of the Jets to actually move up to get their guy and what that might cost?
Yeah, and I mean, I know I read Murat's piece in The Athletic. I mean, smartly laid out. But I mean, I it's one thing, Huss, where GMs say I'm open for business. But to me, like you've been talking about it, it's not like you got the NFL list where this pick is worth X and maybe you want those 2 other picks from a team that has 2. I just don't know what the appetite is. I mean, everybody says that, but they're expecting to be blown away by an offer. And I mean, I just don't see the Jets. I don't know. For your point, Huss, to move to 8 to 2, does that cost you? What does it cost you? Does it cost you Perfetti, or what does it cost you? I mean, you're not just willy-nilly throwing this kind of thing away. And Huss, the issue for San Jose when it pertains to Winnipeg, by 8, most of the defensemen that would help them are gone off the board anyway, right? Maybe there's one of them left out of the 5, but I mean, you talked about it with Shane Malloy. There's a good chance all 5 of those guys could be gone by the time the 7th pick is made. So I think it's too risky for San Jose. Yeah, I agree with you. Unless they're, taking a massive swing for a top pairing defenseman. The Jets have one of those, but I don't see him being available either. So I don't see the Jets being in play for them. And again, Kyle Davidson wants the Blackhawks to improve. He also knows that his best chance of getting a top pairing defenseman is among that list of players. So I think he's throwing up the open for business sign. But unless somebody essentially gives him a top pairing guy, I don't think he's giving away 7 years of that top pairing guy that he can just take it for. And the thing with Chicago that's super interesting, Huss, I know you're looking at the same list that I am. If Stenberg somehow falls to them, it's a big bonus, but they kind of already have that player with Anton Frundell. So it's not to say that you don't want another one of them, especially because Stenberg is more of a winger, but their needs are on defense. So unless they're getting a top pairing guy with term, their best bet is to draft Carroll's, Reed, Verhoff, or whichever guy they like the most at number 4, because as much as they want to say they want to be a playoff team, and maybe they might be one next year, they still have to leapfrog a bunch of teams. So their best bet for the long term is to get another core piece 4th overall, and then add in either trades or free agency down the road. If you think, maybe you can get an experienced forward for Nazar or somebody else like that. But I don't see either one of those teams being serious about moving the pick. Because this happens every year. We hear all the teams are open for business, and then all of a sudden everybody just makes the picks. I mean, that's not to say that one time it may not happen. I just think that it's more unlikely to happen than likely.
Ken, let's get to your latest, or one of your latest, in the Winnipeg Free Press. You alluded to it before, but if you missed it from Tuesday's Winnipeg Free Press, how do you solve a problem like the Jets' second line center position? And you kind of dove in to some players that, of that category you mentioned, maybe coming off a little down years, that might be a fit, that might also thrive with the opportunity. Connor McMichael, who's an RFA, Barrett Hayden from Utah, and of course Winnipeg's Cody Glass, who's got one more year on his deal, scored 19 goals, only 7 assists last year. Best case scenario, like of that entire group that you laid out, in the newspaper, what's the best case scenario for the Winnipeg Jets? And if it's one of those RFAs, what do you think that cost is?
Yeah, I mean, that's a super interesting part. I mean, I mentioned Kirby Dach. Also, he's having a strong playoff. He's an interesting guy, Western Canadian guy. Obviously had a ton of injuries during his tenure with the Canadians, but has the ability. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, Huss. When we go back to the bubble playoff year, Jonathan Toews was the best player in the series against the Oilers, but Kirby Dach, I thought, was even better than Patrick Kane in that first-round matchup, but he just hasn't found that level consistently enough. His role is probably going to be diminished with Montreal. Huss, we know that Oliver Kapanen had a great rookie season. He's probably going to be a full-time center. He can't even get in the lineup right now. So that kind of either moves Dach to the wing or more likely moves him out. Again, big body guy, lots of skill. He's probably got the highest ceiling. Right now, the safest pick is probably McMichael. And the one who intrigues me the most, and it doesn't necessarily have to be as a center, is Kent Johnson, Huss. I mean, fortunately for us, we rolled into Columbus kind of right in the midst of the tailspin, and Kent Johnson was a healthy scratch. This is a top 10 NHL talent, just 1 year removed from a 20-plus goal season. So he hasn't played a lot of center, so it's probably not the optimal fit, but he probably has the ability to maybe rebound and, get back to being that skilled player that he was kind of every other year that he's been in Columbus. And again, it's, to me, I just, we saw the care that Rick Bowness had where he kind of put his arm around him at the morning skate when he told him he was a healthy scratch. But I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, Rick Bowness, we know he wants to be harder to play against, and Kent Johnson isn't exactly a physical force out there, but he's got incredible skill. He's got speed. He's a guy that could probably flourish in the right scenario. I mentioned Roslovic, and I know I got some pushback online already. Well, Roslovic, vanished in the playoffs. Well, I mean, fine, but Jack Roslovic's also a guy who scored 20 plus and has a lot of the capabilities and skills so that the Jets are looking for when it comes to skill and shooting ability and finishing ability that was lacking this year. So, and again, we know he's bounced between center and wing and everything else, and it ended badly, yes. But again, it's a guy who I think is worthy of consideration. And, Mike and I and some others have talked to him over the years, and we've got that sense that there's been a little bit of FOMO when the Jets were good, and Roslovic kind of, maybe he got some bad advice, maybe he was, just needed a little more maturity when he kind of forced his way out. But I think that he's someone that the organization would know and he would have some of the skills that they're looking for. And here's the other part. There's also some guys in the playoffs, Huss, that may be available later on, depending on how situations work for them. I mean, who knows? There's always going to be some other guys who kind of pop up at the last minute where, some teams are having, even though the cap's going up, there are cap issues still out there. And maybe a team's looking for changing the core if they don't happen to get through the second round here. And we know there's some really capable teams that are maybe in that boat.
Yeah, I love the suggestions. I do wonder for RFAs what the Jets
the costs,
have, because I don't think in their situation it would be prudent to move any first rounders, future
agreed.
First rounders as well. And I'm not sure any of these guys would be good enough to get that. They got, I guess, next year's second rounder back in the trade with Buffalo. But it's tough to find out whether is there a roster player that does that? Probably not.
Right.
Of who they're looking at to do. So it certainly is challenging. Hey, I mean, you mentioned some of these guys. We're all here for a good reclamation project. Our old pal Patrick Laine is wasting away as a black ace for the Montreal Canadiens. He's going to be a UFA. Can you see a world where the Winnipeg Jets take a run at Patrick to try to both a reclamation project of his career that started off so incredibly here in Winnipeg, and maybe at the same time a reclamation project of the Jets power play that stunk this year after being so good the year before?
Yeah, I mean, Huss, I wouldn't rule it out entirely. Again, this is much like Roslovic. It was not a great ending in terms of how things sort of transpired at the end. But Huss, I mean, I know you remember it, and so do I. I mean, the last shift Patrick Laine took in a Jets jersey, he beat Johnny Gaudreau up the ice and banged home the overtime winner. So, I mean, again, if you can find that version. Again, it's going to be hard to find the 44 goal version of Patrick Laine, I think, but I would say that it's worth the conversation, Huss. I think that's the first thing. That's the first step in the process. And again, obviously, it wouldn't happen until the summertime. But I can see a world in which part of that makes sense. And, shout out to my colleague, Mike McIntyre. He is weighing in on this subject today, I believe. I think I might have seen the rough draft show up in my inbox just now. So it'll be up at winnipegfreepress.com this afternoon. I think it's worth considering, Huss. I mean, the one thing about Patrick is that when he was in Winnipeg the first time, again, we know that the crazy comparisons always happen with every player. There was a bit of a physical element to his game that sort of drifted as the years went on. He's also a guy that isn't, the Jets are looking to get faster. I don't know that Patrick would help in that regard, but he would, he does have the finishing ability that is sorely lacking. So it would be worthy of a conversation, but he can't just be a power play player is my point, Huss. And the issue for the Jets is that within their top six, as currently constructed and needs further augmentation, where's the fit? I mean, unless if you're going to put him up with Scheifele and Connor, I mean, maybe you've got that maybe makes the line better offensively to a degree, but now it's not as good defensively. And I mean, if we're already spending time talking about them having to outscore their mistakes, I'm not sure that Line A in that spot is going to help that situation. Now, could it help, or if you keep Velarde up there instead of keeping him on the second line for balance, there's an argument to be made about Line A on a second line, providing some secondary scoring. I don't see him. I mean, again, the other classic lining is that he got put on the checking line with Brandon Tanev and Adam Lowry in Finland, which was the hat trick game in the Global Series game. But again, I don't. Patrick isn't going to be the winger with Barron and Lowry on the checking line either. So even though his buddy Nikolai Ehlers is now flourishing on that checking line plus with Martinook and Jordan Staal. So, and again, he doesn't fit as a fourth liner really either. So, it's almost
here's the thing.
It's not a designated hitter in baseball, Huss. I mean, you can't just have him, and that's what he did with the Canadians. He went out and had 10 or 12 power play goals, but was giving them so little in the other parts of the game. But again, I'm here for the conversation, and if Patrick can get get himself back to a good place like he had in those teenage years, hey, could be found money for sure.
Well, and here, this is what I'll say, on this, and, we're seeing it right now. I mean, if you're watching some of these other series, and Ehlers is the perfect example of just how differently he's used in Carolina as opposed to here in Winnipeg. I mean, here in Winnipeg, it was pretty much, here's your spot, this is where you are, and that's just the way that it is. I mean, we've seen Ehlers being used a budget. I mean, the bottom line is, you can say that he's on the third line. You look at the ice time at the end of the game, and he's routinely near the top of Carolina forwards, and they're getting him out there in different situations. And I would say that if Line A if there was a possibility of this happening, it would be a huge challenge for the coaching staff, maybe to get out of the comfort zone of just, this is the lineup and we move forward. And the only time anything changes is if you're getting your ass kicked in a game, that you do try a few different things. I mean, it's interesting. I completely forgot about that time, and it was limited that he was out there with Lowry and some of the other guys, but he's done that more so in other spots. And obviously right now he hasn't been in a good place in his career, but there's just so much potential. It worked so well here for a while in Winnipeg that for a guy that I think needs a spot that believes in him, that will give him the opportunity to try to get back to being a solid regular NHL and potential star, it would be something that I've got a lot of time for. What does everyone in the chat think? Why not question of the day for not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Are you in or out on potentially seeing if there would be some interest, some mutual interest from the two parties to get Pat Laine back here and see what we can see what he might be able to do? Because the bottom line is, Ken, and maybe we think of him differently here than a lot of other markets, because, I mean, recency bias is real, and recently it hasn't gone well for Patrick Laine at all. But there are people, certainly the fan base, but I would imagine there's a lot of people in that organization as well that remember how great he was at a particular time. And it's not like he's 35 right now either.
Nope.
I mean,
True.
this is still a guy that should have a lot of road ahead on a really solid NHL career.
Yeah, and it's just the one thing, again, we know they're buddies, but just Laine just doesn't skate like Ehlers, which makes throwing him on that checking line a little bit more of a challenge, right? When you're out there against McDavid and the top opposition.
100%. I just mean that
to me, Ehlers can skate, and he was always kind of a conscientious defensive player, even though he wasn't necessarily known as one, even though he always was banging on the door wanting to kill penalties. So, but again, I know what you're saying, and again, it's worth a risk for me. It would be a low risk, but like we talked about, that can't be your only part of the plan, right? To me, you're not expecting him to be that 40 goal guy automatically. He may grow into that, or even if he gave you 25, it's probably great right now.
Tell you what, the price probably wouldn't be of a guy coming in that is counted out for 40 goals either, which
no, for sure. And again, if I'm Laine, I want my agent to pick up the phone and say, hey, let's talk about this. And I would love to try to get in the hot tub time machine and see, even if you can find 60 or 70% of that guy. And to me, this is the biggest part of this whole deal. We know that Patrick's gone through some tough stuff on the mental health side, and we're glad that he's got help and is in a much better place. If I'm Patrick Laine, where did I have the most fun playing in the NHL? That's in Winnipeg. So to me, that makes sense as wanting to try to tap back into that, see if there's any water left in the reservoir, Huss. I mean, I do think it would be the juice would be worth the squeeze, but that can't be your only plan. It's got to be part of the bigger plan where you're adding a bunch of, a couple pieces here in the middle six. And then you're also adding probably, you've got to be adding on the back end too, whether that's, getting Albert Smits and seeing if he's a little bit more ready because of his, stature and having played in the Olympics and now at the World Championship and playing against men in both Sweden and Germany. But again, if it's Dax and Rudolph there, I mean, now you got a choice, right? I mean, do you want the higher ceiling, or do you want the guy that can play in the NHL right away? Does handedness factor in? I mean, all those things are going to be, some stuff that we're debating here for the next, 5 weeks before the names are called in Buffalo.
Ken, great stuff as always. Hey, just before we go, should give it up for the MJHL champion Niverville Nighthawks. What a run at the Centennial Cup. Big win over the previously number one ranked Rockford team, I believe from the CCHA just outside of Ottawa. They won 7-6. They were already assured of the win in their pool. They're the only undefeated team going through, and now 2 wins away from a national championship.
It's pretty impressive stuff. I think they'd be the first Manitoba team since Portage got the job done as well. So obviously as a MJHL alum, great to see them doing well. I'm happy that we've been be able to run some stories on them in the free press here. And again, on the Manitoba side here, plenty of Manitoba content in the Western Hockey League final. Huss, and again, I know I mentioned a few of the references recently with both Buck Berger and also with Curtis Brown having played against him. Breck Liskey having just an outstanding playoff for the Everett Silvertips. Huss, he's from Beausejour. His dad, Lonnie, was a teammate of mine with the Mighty Winkler Flyers. So, shout out to him. Obviously, we know what Carter Bear has been doing in that series as well. And in the playoffs, he's been outstanding. But Breck Liskey, I believe he's around 44th in central scouting among North American skaters. So he's kind of in that 2nd to 4th round range for him. So going to be someone that we'll be kind of keeping an eye on here as we moving forward. And for PA, I think Braden Dubé also having himself a heck of a playoff for the Raiders as well.
Yeah, I see someone in chat asking about when did Manitoba win the last time? That was 2015. It was called the Royal Bank Cup at that point. And they had that great run. And other than that, I mean, Portage won. I mean, that goes way, way back. I mean, I remember in your year.
Yeah, well, that was the year before me, Huss, when the Flyers lost to the Thunder Bay Flyers and Jimmy Roy at the old arena in the 1992 Centennial Cup final. That was a pretty impressive run for Manitoba, but the Flyers just fell short in that one.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the Blues went, I believe, in 94 to Centennial Cup, and I think
95.
3rd or 95, I could say. And that was back when you won your league, but then you had to play the Anavet Cup. And
yeah, they beat Weyburn that year.
Saskatchewan had their way more often than not with Winnipeg. So anyway, this is a special team right now, a great event, a great tournament right now, and they'll be off for a day or two. I think we're hopefully going to have Dwayne Hurst back with us, as well as Adam Vigfuson, maybe the goalie too. But good stuff.
What a job Vigfuson has been doing. Just the captain's just been on fire here, right?
Dude,
What a
WST
cup,
bump. I mean, I
unreal.
can't take all the credit. But no, we said, hey, guys, the way things are going, maybe we need just a little bit of an extra bump heading in. So I think the guys are going to join us tomorrow on the program from an off day. Hey, before we go tonight, do we get Game 7, Vegas, Anaheim? And will the Habs be facing elimination at home in Game 6, or will they be one win away from punching their ticket to Carolina?
Yeah, I think Buffalo is gonna win tonight, and I think Vegas will close it out. I know it's been a great series on both fronts, and I don't know, just quickly, and I don't want to get into this too much, but I don't think that's a suspension worthy hit by McNabb. I thought the major and the ejection was enough. What did you think?
I mean, the fact that it's all.
It was late. It was definitely late, but
it was late, and he's injured, and he's out. So I mean, you know how they work. I mean, you can do anything to a guy. If he does the next shift, it's whatever. And if you go and injure a guy with an illegal play, they will look at it. So, I mean, I don't really have a problem with that right now. What I was shocked at, speaking of suspensions, and usually we're all over NHL player safety. Did you see Victor Wembanyama's elbow earlier this week? Like, Ron Artest got 6 playoff games for something very similar a little while ago. And Wemby, who probably is taking a beating right now, finally snaps. Not even a fine. And he was in there for their Game 5 win. I'm still shocked at that.
Flagrant 2. I think that the reputation on the Artest versus Wemby probably factored in. And I still think it was accidental, Huss. Again, I have no allegiance to the Spurs. I think that's one where you're definitely trying to clear some space, but you're not planning on landing that right on the chin of the opponent. But yeah, it was definitely vicious and ejection worthy, but I'm okay with that not being a suspension.
Nice. So But you're in TO. Is there a game tonight, or are you going to any more games?
The games have been completed here. We're on to the Arts House. Tomorrow we're going to the Tragically Hip musical that is going to be wrapping up. And
it's a hip musical?
Yes. It's
really?
called yes. It's
WMT, Winnipeg Musical Talk. We don't normally go down these roads.
And I am going to see And Juliet tonight here at the Mirvish Theater here. So it is the Schitt's Creek, one of the Schitt's Creek writers' Huss. And it is the story of if Juliet had not taken the poison pill along with Romeo, what life would have been like for her. So should be a fun one.
Man, geez,
I know, Huss. I know the Jock Plus is impressing you. I know, but I did get the Grand Slam walk-off in as well.
I would have gone to Buffalo. I'm just saying that. I would have figured it out. Yeah, listen, awesome Blue Jays game yesterday. Hopefully they can go. And man, that Dylan Cease, so
Unreal.
far worth every penny so far. Weber, great convo as always. Have a great time for the rest of your time out east, and I'll look forward to seeing you back in the Peg. You be well.
Yep. Yeah, you too as well. Enjoy the long weekend, my man. Take care. Cheers.
Right on. Good stuff. All right, there's Ken Weeb of the Winnipeg Free Press, and again, yeah, some great piece. Some realistic options of guys that might be available to the Winnipeg Jets if they're looking to juice up that second line position. And I mean, the line A conversation always gets people going in the chat as well. Keep your feedback coming with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. All right, mentioned long weekend coming up. It will not be a tent sale weekend at Royal Sports, but probably the following weekend after that, we might go round 2 after the incredible success of the big one last weekend. Right now, though, at Royal, as we get ready to get into soccer season, softball, baseball, tennis, all of your summer sports, the equipment and gear is loaded up and ready to go. And while we're talking soccer, don't forget about the incredible selection of World Cup merch and Team Canada merch ready to fly the flag for the World Cup, which begins in just a few weeks. Royal Sports is the sports superstore in town. also with one of the biggest bike sections as well. If you're looking to get out on two wheels, get down and see them. 750 Pembina Highway, Royal Sports, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drop, sale information, and we'll let you know when that next tent sale is going to pop up. We're counting down the days till the Fish home opener. And keep your eyes out on our social channels. I do believe my guy Michael Remis has a bit of a Gold Eyes unboxing that's going to be dropping shortly. What you need to do is not unbox anything. You need to get your tickets for Tuesday night at goldeyes.com/tickets. Already about 90% sold out for the game. And then you can unbox one of those beautiful Gold Eyes jerseys they're giving out to the first 5,000 fans if you get there early on the opening night. 5,000 jerseys given away, fireworks after the game. Opening day is here, Tuesday, May 19th, down at Blue Cross Park for our friends of the Winnipeg Gold Eyes. Goldeyes.com for more information on that. Assiniboia Downs is back. Great to have them back at the track, and congratulations to Cowboy Kurt Schmidtke, who was our first horse race winner yesterday. If you missed the end of the show for yesterday and the next 2 Wednesdays, we'll be running a digital horse race. You can enter at winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. We'll be picking 10 names for each race from everyone that enters. And then the winning horse is getting an invite for them and a guest to join the WST team June 3rd at the Downs. We're going to be set up in the terrace dining room. We're going to be enjoying that incredible prime rib buffet and having a great time at the races. So WST Cowboy already confirmed. 2 more chances to win next Wednesday and the following Wednesday. So get your entries in at winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. And then we will also be looking forward to doing it again next week and the following after. Speaking of Assiniboia Downs, Remis, how did it go yesterday for you?
Not great, Huss. I'm still searching for my first win of the year, so I went over.
I had 1 win. It was 16-60, I believe. So I'm about even right now on the series. You know who's not even right now? They're 1-0. It's the Winnipeg Seabears. Big win on the road in Edmonton on Saturday to kick off the season. And they're back for the home opener on Saturday at Canada Life Center. And on the move, we welcome in the head coach of the Winnipeg Seabears, Mike Raimbault, to Winnipeg Sports Talk. I think we just lost him. Nope, we've got him here. Mike, can you hear us okay?
Oh, I'm back. I'm so sorry for a little bit of an unstable connection here.
Hey, no problem. Great to have you on the program, and congratulations on a great start to the season. Lots to get to on the team and what we'll be seeing on Saturday, but tell us a little bit about getting the team together, going through camp, and starting it off with a big win on the road.
For sure. I mean, obviously it was a bit of an up and down game in Edmonton, and we were happy that we showed some resilience. We were able to play through, some adversity and stick together when things got a little difficult, especially the comeback needed in target time was, we were a little bit up against it, but for us to find a way to come out and be successful in game 1, we were extremely happy.
A huge part of the CEBL is local talent, and we've had a great chat with Simon Hildebrand, who was excited to come back and be in the fold. But man, Mason Krause being the hero in game number 1. I mean, it takes everyone, but just tell us a little bit about how Mason stepped up at the most important time in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, pretty familiar with Mason's game. I mean, he's a guy that can definitely mix it up at the defensive end of the floor, but he was ready to play on the offensive side as well. He made some timely 3-point shots for us. And I thought he played with a lot of poise and confidence for a younger guy earlier in his professional career. And, when we decided to go with him down the stretch, he didn't let us down.
Now, Mike, the news, I mean, for anyone that's followed the Seabears over the last number of years, since their inception, there's been some great players. There's been some ups and downs. Teddy Allen, arguably maybe the most talented player that we've had, left the team in sort of strange circumstances. It didn't think, well, it was, I think, a shocker to a lot of people on the outside that he's back. Tell us about, now that you've taken over, bringing Teddy into the field, into the fold again, and how Teddy has sort of responded to the new challenge of coming back, being a Sea Bear again on your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Teddy is super appreciative for the opportunity to be back. He recognizes, that it's a second chance. He's been tremendous so far. I mean, he came into the city early to get ready for training camp. And so him and I could spend a little bit of extra time sort of talking about some things that we wanted to do leading into training camp. We've asked him, to take on a little bit of a leadership role within the group. And he's done a great things day by day and really buying into the things that we're asking him to do. And we're just excited to have him back.
Well, I know a lot of fans excited to see Teddy and the entire squad back Saturday night, Canada Life Center for the home opener. For you, I mean, you've had incredible run working at the U of W. You've been with this team. What's it going to be like for you to get out as the head coach of Winnipeg's professional team in front of the home fans for the opener Saturday night?
Yeah, it's obviously a huge honor. I mean, super grateful for the opportunity to be in the position. I mean, I'm excited for our entire group. They've been working extremely hard through training camp. It's the early portion of the season and we're coming together and we're learning. We're hoping to, be a little bit crisper on the offensive side than we were a week ago. But, the opportunity to play in front of our home fans is just, it's absolutely tremendous. And, for me personally, it's obviously a huge honor and something that we all really just appreciate our opportunity.
A quick question, taking the coach hat off and more the team builder and the manager. How beneficial has the fan support of the Sea Bears and the reputation that the organization has earned through the first few years in getting interested players to come to Winnipeg and play for your team?
Yeah, it's definitely been a huge factor. I think there's obviously rave reviews of anybody that gets a chance to play in our building in front of our fans and the environment, so it's an easy sell in terms of, hey, you're going to get this for 12 games, the support that you're going to get. I mean, even the support of the community, people are recognizing us, the players when they're out in the community. It is an honor, and it's definitely a big part of our sell as we're pitching.
Well, it is go time for the Sea Bears. Saturday night, Canada Life Center, 7 p.m. Get your tickets if you don't have them already, and let's get going with another great year of Sea Bears basketball. Coach, congratulations on the win in Week 1 on the road. Let's look to go 2-0 and send them home happy on Saturday night. All the best moving forward, and let's do this again soon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. There's Mike Raimbault, the head coach of the Winnipeg Sea Bears home opener against your team, Remo, the Saskatoon Mamba, with their pink logo in the rebrand that you were not a big fan of. That's the Sea Bears opponent for the game on Saturday night. Hopefully we can see the Sea Bears go 2-0. Pretty thrilling way to win. Although I can't wait to get back to the games, and the more I think about it, I just love the target score. It's sometimes you see these blowout games in the NBA, especially in the playoffs, and it's like a 40-point game or 30-point, and you're just going through the motions for the end. You'll never see that at a CEBL game.
Well, the thing about the CEBL is every game has a walk-off winner. It doesn't matter if it's a free throw or a three-pointer or a layup, a dunk. It's always going to have that exciting finish, or you have, a good call. Whoever's doing play-by-play on radio, I saw they're now on CJOB again, TV, CBC Gem, and CBC handling the streaming for the CEBL. So the league is certainly growing. Very exciting, great product. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I mean, what are we, is this year 4 of the Sea Bears? Now I would recommend checking out home opener Saturday. I'm going to bring the family out to a game this year. There's some afternoon ones later in the summer. So great summer activity. And the team seems to be pretty exciting this year after a disappointing finish last year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we kind of nailed it. I mean, it has such a great reputation. Players do want to play here. They know they'll be in a full place, and the atmosphere is a lot better than maybe in some of the other markets, and that's important to a lot of guys. So, anyways, wishing Mike well, his coaching staff, the entire squad, good luck on the season. And yeah, Saturday night, 7 p.m. is the opener down at Canada Life Center. Speaking of the opening fishing season is about to get underway. I know my friends at Aikens Lake are getting ready to bring in customers for the first time, I believe, this weekend. I'm going to be out in the following week when Remo and Connor hang tight and take care of the show for a few days while I'm out at Aikens. Of course, if you're looking for a world-class fly-in fishing experience this year in the province where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, including the flight, Aikens Lake is the spot. And as incredible as the fishing is, the hospitality of the Terrens and the Aikens team might be even better. Check out more online, aikenslake.com, for more information on the upcoming season, different options depending on your group size, as well as availability for the rest of the year. I'll shout out our friends at Breezy Bend. We'll dive into the leaderboard in a minute with a Breezy Bend golf report, but I'm not sure today or tomorrow is going to be great days for golf with 80 to 100 kilometer-hour winds. I'll pass on that, but we are back. The course is wintered great, and our team of groundskeepers and maintenance crew, second to none over at Breezy. So I'll be swinging them over the next few days, weather permitting. And if you're looking for a great long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out Breezy Bend, breezybend.ca online, as well as you can give a call 895-7205 and ask for our pal Corey Johnson for more information on Breezy membership. We will fill you in on what's happening at the PGA Championship with the leaderboard report in just a minute. But first up, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get to that Breezy Bend leader report in a minute. We got the PGA Championship underway at Aronimink Golf Club just outside of Philadelphia. And no one's running away with this one, folks. We have looks like a 3-way or 5-way tie for first place right now. Aldrich Poitgetter from South Africa, German Stefan Jaeger, and the chef, New Zealander Min Woo Lee, all at 3 under par right now. As I look at the TV, which is a little bit advanced of the PGA's leaderboard, Akshay Bhatia, one of my guys, he's 3 under par. And Smalley 3 under through 5. So a very nice start for a few players. Now, guys in the clubhouse at 2 under par, Sahith Theegala, Xander Schauffele's there. Nice starts for former PGA champion Martin Keimer, who's been out on LIV. Justin Thomas as well at 2 under par. 1 unders include Ryan Gerard, Nikolai Højgaard, Joakim Niemann, and Garrick Higo, who was a little late for his tee time, actually shot 67, but had a 2-stroke penalty. We talked about that at the start of the game. His quote was, "I was on time, but late." That unfortunately turned into a 2-stroke penalty for him. He sits at 1 under right now. Jason Day and Cam Smith, the Aussie connection, is 1 under par right now. Jordan Spieth finished at 1 under. John Rahm at 1 under. Brooks Koepka at 1 under. Oh, wow. Michael Block, love him or hate him, he's 1 under right now. Patrick Reed, Colin Morikawa. We haven't seen a lot of Canadians so far. Corey Connors, even through 8. Our guy, Sudarshan Yelamaraju, from the Golf Dome to his first major, he's even through 4 right now. Taylor Pendrith, I believe, was 2 over, and Nick Taylor's 1 over right now. He's playing the 8th. I see Tommy Fleetwood, Chris Gotterup are both 1 over through 7. The course is playing tough, and some of the greens are wild. Bryson DeChambeau had a miserable day today. Bryson barely touched a putt, and it rolled about 60, 70 feet past the hole. He finished at 6 over par today. Some big numbers out on the course. If you don't, if you're not keeping it in the short stuff, and you're in bad spots on the green. We'll get back to more golf coverage tomorrow on the program with the latest from the PGA Championship. All right, let's get over to our cool bet lines for tonight and get to these 2 hockey games. Man, Remo, ever since Connor mentioned this could be the last doubleheader of the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's made me more all in for a good time tonight watching both games.
Yeah, well, I think this Montreal-Buffalo series, I think that one's pretty up in the air. And Anaheim, what a playoffs it's been for them. Can they force a Game 7? You hope so, at home against Vegas. So, yes, it's Thursday, the long weekend coming up. Time to enjoy possibly one final doubleheader of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Both games are basically coin flips, gang. Right now, I'd cool bet Buffalo minus 119, Habs plus 101. That's basically a pick 'em and just baking in a little bit of home ice for the Buffalo Sabres. Vegas is at minus 112. Anaheim is at minus 104. I'm with Ken on Vegas tonight. I have a real hard time picking between Buffalo and Montreal, especially the way this series has gone. Like, the Sabres arena is going to be nuts. I don't think anything really gets close to what the Bell Center is. But both teams have found a way to win on the road. I'm not sure that that's really going to matter. What is going to matter is probably who gets off to a good start, and if Buffalo can hold that after kind of falling off after the first 10 minutes in a couple of games where they have gone up. And let's face it, it's probably coming down to the goalies tonight, Reem. And Jakub Dobish will be there. And I thought UPL, after a goal given up to Cole Caulfield at the end of the first period in game number 4 that you don't like to see, will be ready to go. And for a Sabres fans, hopefully looking like the guy that shut the door in 2 and 3. I don't know. I guess I'll take Buffalo just because I've been riding with them and they are at home. But to me, that is just an absolute coin flip.
Yeah, I'm looking at Money Puck. They've got Buffalo, again, like the odds, slight favorite, and they got Vegas as a favorite. I'm curious if UPL can go 2 games in a row. They went to Lion before. It's going to be interesting. They are at home. So as you said, that helps. So they need to get something from their top line. Tage Thompson, is he hurt? What's going on with him? It's been, Zach Benson. He's been a big factor for them, and special teams always pretty huge. So
speaking of Zach Benson, if you're looking for a player prop to play tonight, I love Zach Benson to get a point at minus 111. He's everywhere in this series. And I know Tage Thompson's had his ups and downs. The guy that I think I'm going to tab for a point tonight is Alex Tuch. He seems to be a real leader of this team. I think he rises to the occasion tonight. You could always just have some fun and go with Lane Hudson over 2 points at plus 260. Man, is he fun to watch. As far as the Vegas game goes, as I mentioned, minus 112 for Vegas, minus 104. Points in the game. I think this is going to be a big Jack Eichel game, Reem. I was thinking about Jack Eichel to score at plus 190. But to be honest, Jack Eichel at over 1.5 points, I think might be the move. I think he's got like 1 goal and 14 assists or something like that in the playoffs so far this year. He's been an assist machine. He did have an OT winner taken away. But I think Eichel leads the way tonight for a team that knows how important it is to get this series finished, get a little bit of rest, and start preparing for the Colorado Avalanche.
I think that would be a great series if it was Vegas, Colorado. And interestingly enough, you look at the points leaders in the playoffs. Number 1, Mitch Marner. Leafs fans love hearing that. Although they'll tell you, the degree of difficulty for Vegas this year against Anaheim and Utah, not exactly, at the Florida Panthers that they played previously. But they're 1-2, and so Eichel's been the guy, and they're going to have to step up without Mark Stone. And Braden McNabb is, I think, a big loss for them. They're able to manage last game, but they're calling up former Winnipeg Jets defenseman Dylan Coghlan to play the top pair right side with Shea Theodore. And you talk about all the Winnipeg Jets making impact in the playoffs. Nikolai Ehlers with Carolina. Buffalo's got the Shen-Stan pairing. Edmonton, they had Roslovic. Anaheim's got Jeffrey Viel, Jacob Trouba, and an occasional appearance from Jansen Harkins. But now Vegas has their former Jets. So I'm getting ready for, I hope Colorado doesn't win, because on Instagram, I need to take the picture or record the video of that former Jet raising the cup and posting it, because it always gets so much engagement. It always
pops.
When I do it every year, whether it's been Zach Bogosian or was Chris Thorburn with St. Louis, whoever it's been the last couple seasons. So I'm actually hoping anyone but Colorado, even though I picked them to win.
Yeah, the Vegas defense tonight. Noah Hannafin with Rasmus Andersson. Then Shea Theodore with Dylan Coghlan. Mm-hmm. And then the third pairing is going to be Ben Hutton with Caden Korzak.
Yes, man. I mean, Anaheim at home, Quenneville running the matchups. That's a tough defense, Huss.
You know what? It is. Maybe I'm just going to jump on the Jack Eichel prop and then not even worry about the win the game, because, listen, this is a lineup that I think that, certainly a blue line that the Anaheim Ducks might be able to exploit. Those are your games tonight over at CoolBet. You want to jump on it. If you haven't played there before, use that promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And stay tuned. Maybe you can join us for a poker night like we had last night again. A very, very fun evening of poker. Shout out to AP's Fire Alarm for the championship win. And I believe he took me out and got the bounty on my head. In the meantime, Remo, what's up tonight? Just a full slate of National Hockey League action?
I got my son's soccer game. I haven't been outside. Is it still really windy? You're gonna be able to kick the ball? I can't see.
It's not quite as windy as it was in the morning right now.
Yeah.
Let's just do a quick little Environment Canada up to date right now. Yeah, it said that south wind 41 gusting to 53. I mean, it's enough. It's been a tough start for the kids starting their soccer season so far this year.
Last week was very cold, at least on the Tuesday. It's been warming up. I never know what to send them in school. It's so cold in the morning, and then it heats up. I got yelled at yesterday for not giving my son shorts because it really heated up. So I think summer, it's finally realizing, hey, it's the long weekend. This is the official summer kickoff. We got Goldeyes home opener next week, Sea Bears home opener Saturday, Bombers just around the corner. They know we want to warm up. People want to go outside. So I think we're going to see that soon.
Crazy. It's 24 right now. 24, but very, very windy. Tomorrow for Friday, it's going to be 21 with the 30% to showers or show. And then Saturday, not that warm, but at least it's sunny. 13 and sunny. Not sure how windy it's going to be. It doesn't really say that on the thing. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, not really looking too good, to be honest. Raining, cold. So the best outdoor day plans is going to be Saturday, at least from what the forecast is. But again, that changes. That changes all the time. Great stuff, Reem. Fun show today, and I'm sure quite the extravaganza awaits us tomorrow as we are potentially putting the Anaheim Ducks to bed, and we will certainly be setting up what's going to be bananas in Montreal on Saturday night for Game 6, regardless of who wins tonight.
Yes, at least that one. The second round has been so weird. We have Carolina with this layoff. After sweeping, they started early. Now Colorado is sitting around, and we'll see how it benefits them. But yes, the second round, no matter what happens tonight, it will not be over. We will have one more game of that series in Montreal on Saturday night. Huss, hockey. What is that? The Cathedral of Hockey, isn't that what they call it at the Bell Center?
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Exciting.
indeed. The Cathedral as well.
Is that what people call it? Who was calling it that the other day?
It is.
Oh,
it's the Cathedral of Hockey.
It was Zeisberger. Mike Zeisberger. I heard him on Sirius. He was, he's saying Montreal is the real center of the hockey universe.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have their own claim to it. Toronto, media-wise, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You just what? There is no play. I think I'd agree with him. I don't think there's anywhere, maybe on planet Earth, where the sport and the team is more entwined with that community and the people there. You could say the Leafs, but I guess they haven't had many opportunities like this to be playing deep into the playoffs and winning championships and competing for cups. So we'll see what happens tonight. Buffalo, Montreal, 6 o'clock, 8:30, Vegas and Anaheim. We'll be all over it tomorrow. We will also have the latest on the PGA Championship. And get you ready for the weekend. The Seabears home opener. Gold Eyes coming up on Tuesday. So busy show tomorrow. And, of course, we'll get to some marbles as well. Thanks to Michael Traikos, Ken Weeb, and Seabears head coach Mike Raimbault, and, of course, Connor Rabchak and Michael Remis. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. And we'll look forward to seeing you to get ready for a long weekend tomorrow, right here, 1 p.m., live on YouTube on WST. Enjoy the games and have a great night.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.